Every man needs to be a fucking asshole. Yes, I said it. Every man needs to be an asshole. Especially if you're a guy who struggles with people pleasing, or you're a formal people pleaser, or you struggle with energetic boundaries, or an empath, or whatever it is. This is a requirement for a masculine's development. Literally, to be an asshole, to harness the dark masculine, to harness that shadow masculine. I'm fired up today, boys. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm very fired up. Maybe it's that new moon energy, that Capricorn and new moon, that 111, whatever it is. It's almost my birthday as well, so I'm feeling it. I'm feeling that fire. Anyway, the reason I say that, especially for us who have struggled with people pleasing, who have mother wounds, for those of us who have struggled to get out there, to enforce those boundaries. I say that because we must get used to tension. We must learn how to be in our shadows. The thing is, we could be love and light, all right? We can be all love and light. But if we ignore the shadow, we suppress it, we become worse. We literally become worse. We're bottling it up. We're pushing it down, down, down. Think of like this dark water, right? You're trying to put a lid on it. It's pressurized. It's angry. It's bubbling, boiling. It wants to burst, and you're just trying to put a lid on it. You're trying to make it stay. And the more you do that, the more agitated it becomes. On the outside, it could be all smiles and all happy and peaceful, and you wouldn't hurt a fly. On the outside, it might seem good, but on the inside, how do you really feel? This doesn't apply to the integrated man, because there are men who are watching this. There are men out there who have integrated this shadow masculine. They're able to know when to be aggressive, when to be compassionate. They know how to balance these forces within them. And this is something I'm practicing myself. This is something I'm learning, that I'm mastering, and that's why I speak about it. Not everyone is in the same level when it comes to this. That's why I say, if you are struggling with this, I really think at some point you just have to be an asshole. Of course, I'm not saying go out there and hurt people, damage them. This is not what I mean by that. I want to make that very clear. I'm not saying go break some hearts and lower the consciousness of this planet, lower the consciousness of other people. This is not what I'm talking about. But rather, it's okay to be in your own frame, to disagree, to be in tension, to upset other people. If you're upsetting other people because you have a genuine opinion about something that you know will upset someone, or if you have to say no to something because you feel obligated to say yes, and they get upset and they think you're an asshole for that. It's okay. It's okay. It becomes easier over time. This is something I myself am learning and practicing, embodying. I'm learning when to show compassion, when to be soft and giving and loving and nurturing, but also know when to enforce those boundaries, when to be strict, when to have strong frame control. Actually, we should always have strong frame control. And maybe you're asking, what is frame control? Frame control is when you're so anchored in your reality, in your own frame, right? Think of a frame around you, your aura. Think of your space. You are the king. You are the one ruling your space. That is frame control. And when someone tries to impose on your frame control, you stay in that reality. Say someone at work challenges you, maybe another guy, maybe another man, he's envious of your work ethic, and he makes a jab at you, he makes a joke. He's testing your frame. He's testing whether you're gonna fall into his frame, if you're gonna accept his reality over yours. And of course, I understand, because this is a more spiritual channel. This is more towards that side of things, that sometimes it's like, okay, let's turn the other cheek. And there's power in that, because there is frame in that, saying, this is beneath me. I am in my own reality. I'm not gonna play the game. I'm not gonna fall to your reality. Yes, there's value there, but we have to be aware that it's not an excuse. It's not cowardice. Sometimes it comes from cowardice, and we have to be brutally honest. Is it because we're scared of conflict? Is it because we're scared of tension? Is it because we're scared of upsetting people, of being seen as aggressive, or as being seen as assertive? Is it fear, or is it confidence? Because even to this day, I have to question it. Because I know how I grew up. I know how much people pleasing I used to do. I know how much of my energy I gave to others. I know how much I gave excessive. I know how scared I was of my own aggression, my own masculinity. Because at one point in my life, I went too far. I went too far into aggression. I became a bully. Like, believe it or not, at one point in my life, I went so far into aggression and I became scared of it. Maybe this is you too. Maybe you've seen parts of yourself, parts of your shadow, parts of your dark masculine essence that has scared you. And that's the reason why you don't want to tap into that. But the more we are afraid of something, the more fear we have of something, the more control it has over us. So it's learning how to control that, knowing when to assert our frame, assert our willpower, assert ourselves in reality. It's knowing how to stand our ground. And depending on where we're at in our self-development, if we're still stuck in these loops of people pleasing, if we're still stuck in these loops, then at that point, it is better to be overly aggressive, overpowering, because it's likely you're never going to really reach the point where you're super domineering and a tyrant and all this stuff. Though we should be watchful of that, okay? We should be watchful. I'm not trying to create any tyrants out there, but it's better to have self-respect. It's better to stand our ground, because funnily enough, that comes from self-love, self-compassion. It comes from a place of knowing our place in this world. It comes from a place of, hey, I belong in this world as much as you do. It's saying to our environment, this is my space. This is my dominion. And once we learn how to stand in that, that's where we start to balance out. That's where we start to see, is this really worth the fight or not? So it really depends on where we are in that journey. And we could assess it, right, by our chakra system. If you know anything about chakras, I'll explain it very briefly. The masculine chakras are not actually masculine, but rather masculinity relies heavily on the lower chakras. It's very tied. We're very physical. The masculine is very three-dimensional. It's very connected. So the root chakra, security, right? And it makes sense. If we're secure in ourselves, if we're grounded, that is extremely powerful for the masculine. The sacral, our creativity and sexual center. The solar plexus, this one's especially important. It's our I am. It's our willpower center. The solar plexus is the center of our bodies. An imbalanced solar plexus tells us we are worthy. It's our confidence and self-esteem. Very vital, very important for the masculine. And then once we reach our heart chakra, it's almost like a keys unlocking when our heart opens up and we're able to give our love, our compassion to the world. It literally unlocks another stage of masculinity. So it's a good way to assess ourselves based off of chakra systems. Where are we in balance? And we'll be able to know how much development have we had. Or if we're going back on behaviors, or we're improving on certain behaviors, there are any patterns that we gotta tweak. It's a really good way of knowing where we're at. And I want to reiterate, it's okay to have these traits. It's okay if you're at a spot where you have to be an asshole. It's okay to be at a spot where you just have to, where you have to assert yourself. It's okay. There's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with that. The masculine does have this trait. It does. And as controversial as this figure is, and I'm not going to say anything about his politics or anything like that, because this is not the point of the video. It doesn't reflect my opinion on anything. And it's true what a certain doctor, what a certain psychologist says, that men have to be a monster. Men should not be weak, but rather it's learning how to contain that monster. It's learning how to wield the weapon, to have that sword, but have it sheathed and know when to bring it out. Know when it's needed. Know when to protect others. Know when to protect yourself. Because I've made this mistake. I've made this mistake so many times where I was passive, where I didn't say anything, where I was quiet, where I was challenged by other men, by women, but especially other men who saw my weakness, who could see through me. And even though I wasn't weak, I let them push me around. I let someone assert dominance over me. And it felt like complete dog shit. But because in my mind I was saying, it's not worth the fight, I'm gonna be the better person, I'm gonna be the higher person, I'm not gonna fight this battle, blah blah blah, making excuses, but really it came from a lack of self-love, a lack of self-confidence, a fear of my own aggression, and a fear of my own masculinity, a fear. It was not loving. I remember feeling ashamed. I remember feeling ashamed of the times I didn't stand up for myself, or of the times I stayed quiet because I didn't want to rock the boat. The times I kept my opinions to myself. The times I agreed when really I disagreed. It didn't feel good. And there's a difference now when I know I'm at peace, and let's say there's someone that I disagree with. There's someone gossiping at work or doing something that I don't like. But really being at peace with it, being like, this is genuinely not worth the battle. This is genuinely a reflection of who you are. This is a reflection of where you're at. And I accept you. And it's okay. And this is not where I have to assert myself, where I have to stop anything. And another situation where I have friends who have a certain opinion and they're very stuck on that opinion. And I disagree. And I disagree totally, but I let them be. And I see this battle is genuinely not worth it. The friendship is more important. And it's okay if we disagree. It doesn't threaten me. It doesn't threaten who I am. My ego is strong enough to withstand that difference. And there is where letting go, having compassion, allowing others to be, in a way that's a strength too. The funny thing, that's having a strong ego allows you that. And in those instances, fighting that battle would actually show a weakness in ourselves. It would show a lack of frame. It would show that we're actually insecure about where we are. So I'm saying when we do these interactions, let's say someone testing our boundaries, testing our frames, we're not doing it because we're angry. And this is the tricky part. This is a tricky part because although I'm telling you this, there comes a point in our development, there comes a point in certain situations where genuinely we are so in our power, so in presence, that we don't even get angry when someone challenges us. It doesn't mean step back and allow them to walk all over us. We're not a doormat. But it's having the grace, having the power, having complete presence, having complete confidence in ourselves, that we navigate it so easily, that we are actually unbothered, not even angry, not even tapping into that aggressive warrior energy, to that Mars energy, to that Aries, the war. We're not starting things. We become that comfortable, that in our power, that we do stay in our frame, that we are in our frame. And if anything, we pity that person and we move along. When we reach that point, it's a beautiful thing. Meanwhile, we're in this material 3D world, right? And challenges come our way. And it's good to know how to navigate them, know how to stay in our frame, to control our realities. All these are extremely vital, important. These are skill sets we need. And in our development, we also find how to tap into that higher realm. Yet first, we must love ourselves. We must respect ourselves. We must harness the shadow. We must integrate the shadow. When we learn how to harness it, when we learn how to tap into that energy, when we learn that this is a part of ourselves and that's okay, that's when we're able to go into the next stage and the higher stage, to the higher order masculine. It's a beautiful journey. And this is the vision that I see. This is the vision that I see for men, especially for us spiritual men, or for us who are beginning our spiritual journeys, or even our masculinity journey. I think inherently the masculine journey will always become a spiritual one eventually when we reach that stage. And it's okay if we have to be an asshole for a bit. It's okay if we have to learn that. It's okay to have those human attributes. We don't have to be weak, soft. We don't have to reject parts of ourselves. We don't have to be ashamed of those parts. And that's the vision I see of the strong masculine, the confident masculine, the compassionate masculine. I can see men rising. I can see men becoming better fathers, raising their children, remaining faithful to their wives, being good husbands, good partners. I see men connecting back to earth. I see men learning of the traditional ways. I see men connecting to God, the universe creator. I see men climbing mountains, kayaking, swimming. I see men being active and fit, honoring their bodies. And I see men meditating, journaling, accepting themselves, loving themselves, learning when to be hard and soft. If you're new to this channel, my name is Nathan. I go by Nate Rocks here on YouTube. This channel is not just a channel. This channel is a space for the masculine. It's a space for the sacred masculine. It's a channel here dedicated to building men up. I see a higher order of masculinity, and I want us to build it together. So join me. Please like and subscribe. Let's help spread this message. I greatly appreciate every single one of you that watches this. Please comment and let me know about your journey. And as always, thank you for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.